All right, so today is Saturday, February 27th, and it's been a while since I posted a video, so especially a sling specific information video. So I figured I'd go back to my old style here and do that. I've been flying around. I've got almost 20 hours or just about 20 hours on the plane now. I ran into, with my short runway, trying to make that taxiway that's about at midfield, trying to land and clamp the brakes. I started getting a lot of chatter in them when I applied the brakes, so I replaced the pads and rotors, and it's back up and running now. So actually a guy from Matco is out in Utah, and he's going to make a trip out here next week, I think, and show me some kind of cool upgrade potential for the brakes. So it's basically instead of a single piston caliper, they make a dual piston caliper and a high energy brake disc. So I think it's fairly easy just swap out. So if that's the case, I'll definitely do an update video on that. That'll be really exciting, at least for me with my kind of short runway. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun doing the whole build again and kind of incorporating some of the things that I wish I had done on mine or thought I could have done differently or better. So we're getting these done up properly and perfectly, so I'm really excited about that. Both of these planes are really coming along. So another cool update thing is I've been talking with a guy over at Aircraft Specialty. They do custom fuel lines for firewall forward stuff. So both of these planes, one of the things I wish I had done for mine is run aluminum tubing in the fuselage for the fuel lines. So both of these planes are getting that. And then the guy over at Aircraft Specialty, they do custom built Teflon fuel lines. So I'm going to be working on that with him and getting him all the lengths and everything for my plane. And I think both of these guys are going to want it on their planes as well. And Teflon is basically a lifetime fuel line, so there's no 5-year replacement stuff to do, and you can run whatever fuel you want in it. It's pretty much impervious to it. So I'm really excited about that potential. That, coupled with aluminum lines in the fuselage, should basically make the fuel system just a lifetime thing, and no need for any swap outs or anything. So a couple things that I wanted to talk about also here. Couple interesting things that I wanted to talk about here. Basically, there is another Rivet Gun contender out there. I recently found out about it through a guy on the Sling Builders group. So as a lot of people who watch my channel here know, I really like this ProSet XT2. This thing is just, you know, the gold standard in riveters. And it's more or less because of this functionality here. It will pull air through the nozzle, and so when you pull the rivet, it sucks the mandrel into the collector automatically for you. So apparently there's another one out there that also does that. So yeah, you see they kind of have the same functionality. Form factor, it's made by, I think, Sumaki. And form factor, this one's a little bit bigger than the ProSet. It's a little heavier. The nose is a little bit larger diameter, but I've been really putting it through its paces, and it's working phenomenally for me. Another cool advantage of this one over the ProSet is that it actually comes with all 4 nozzle sizes that you come across on the Sling. So everything from that really small one that's almost never used, it's like 2.4 millimeters, all the way up to the 4.8 millimeters. The ProSet XT2 doesn't do the smallest, but it does do the largest. I also have an XT1, which will do the 2.4 millimeters, but it doesn't do the 4.8. So, you know, this is a really cool option. So I will leave contact information for the guy who's selling these to sling builders in the description of this video. The best thing about this is he's selling them for 350 bucks a pop. So you could buy 2 of those, like 2.5 of them for the price of one of these. So, you know, for anybody who's out there building a sling, this is a really efficient tool. It really makes your life easy to have that air suction on it. And this is a stainless rivet. So as you know, these are much harder to pull, but it still does a great job. Handles it, gets the job done. So yeah, anyway, we'll move on from the rivet guns. So I did a Rivnut test here. I know it's probably a lot of scribble for you, but I'll walk you through it here. I wanted to know what exactly the best way was to install these Rivnuts. The manual says to use Loctite. I've heard from some people epoxy, JB weld, tons of different things. And you know, JB weld's a little harder to work with than Loctite, and epoxy is also a little harder to work with than Loctite. So anyway, basically this test here was, so all of these 3 holes were deburred, these were drilled and not deburred, and then deburr, drill. The top row is all nothing, no Loctite. Middle row is Loctite, and the bottom row I did with 5-minute epoxy. So, you know, mixing the epoxy and installing it onto the Rivnut before you do it, it's a little bit more work. But you can see here with nothing, 2.4 inch-pounds. With Loctite, 22.8, and epoxy, 37.2. So something interesting that I found is it basically makes no difference, or is even slightly better, to not deburr your Rivnut holes. Really, it doesn't make a difference at all. You know, I'd have to do a ton more tests than this to come up with conclusive data on it. But, you know, just, you know, right off the bat here, you can see all 3 different varieties are basically within the same reach. I guess, you know, this epoxy one might have just had a little bit more epoxy or something. But anyway, so deburring, not deburring doesn't make a difference. I drilled all 6 of these, or I installed all 6 of these just slightly looser than normal. So all of these were installed by the same Rivnut tool, you know, for consistency. And these I installed loose, and all 4 of these, so nothing and with Loctite, didn't even read on the digital torque meter that I was using to do this test. So they just spun completely freely. With Loctite, you see I still got almost the same holding strength, or sorry, with epoxy down here, I got almost the same holding strength as with Loctite fully pulled. So that is a benefit of epoxy there. If you just happen to not be able to get it all the way secured. And see, the loose ones there aren't visually all that different from the tight ones. So I tried to make it kind of a realistic test where, you know, maybe you just didn't quite get the full pull on it or whatever. So moral of this side over on the panel here is make sure your Rivnuts are all the way tight. It makes a huge difference. Also, epoxy is a little stronger than Loctite, and not using Loctite at all is not an option at all. So the interesting thing, and the reason that I'm even doing the video here, is I just kind of went rogue on these 3 right here, and I actually installed super glue on them instead of Loctite or epoxy. And consistently, super glue got the best readings pretty much. Aside from this one epoxy one over here, super glue is just far and away the strongest hold. I did some research afterwards. You know, I just happened to have a bottle of super glue sitting next to me when I did this test, so I just figured I'd try it out. Super glue is, you know, water over time can degrade it slightly, but it's water resistant, and you can get waterproof super glue, and it's not corrosive to metal. And so it's actually a really easy alternative to using Loctite or epoxy, which you have to mix up. So I think moving forward, at least all the Rivnuts inside the cabin, there's no reason not to use super glue on them. It's a really easy installation and a really strong hold. So yeah, that's pretty much the conclusion of this test. The last 2 holes I didn't describe, I over drilled them all the way up to a 1/4 inch instead of 15/64. And as you can see, the holding strength is significantly compromised by that. So you want to make sure that your drill hole is the proper size. Doesn't really matter, you know, from this short little test here, it doesn't really matter if you deburr it or not. And yeah, super glue, the lucky winner, I guess, for now. Of course, there's tons of other adhesives that exist. You could try lots more, but this is all the Rivnuts I wanted to waste on it. So lastly, I'm kind of working on something here with the ducting. So people who have flying TSIs might know or might have noticed that these shutoffs aren't the greatest. The butterfly valve is not round, it's actually an oval because it doesn't shut all the way. Basically it shuts diagonally in there. And it doesn't seal very well, so you can see the gaps all the way around it. And it's frustrating when you're flying in really cold Idaho winters. And you know, for a large portion of the country and anybody who's flying at high altitudes, you really don't want that much leak coming in through your air ducts there. And not only that, but at idle, they rattle a fair bit. And that's basically because of the way this is made. There's just that slight bit of play there that causes a rattle. So I'm trying to figure out an elegant, simple solution to basically improve this. I pretty much just spent 2 or 3 hours today on it, playing around, and I'm not really sure that I like the design, but this is what I came up with. This is an oversized one that's clear, just kind of for demonstration. Basically, it's the same idea as a waste shutoff valve for like a motorhome or something. And so then it would be servo actuated up and down, and you get the same amount of flow control, but a complete shutoff when it's shut here. And of course, you know, if there's flex, you can kind of get a little crack there. But then I mocked one up here, and basically all you do is you remove this piece by unscrewing these 2 screws, and this whole rod just comes out, and you've got this, and it slides into here, which I would glue on with some Sikaflex. And this is a really nice tight assembly here, and it seems to work. I don't think that there would be a whole lot of leak around this edge here because it is a nice tight fit, but it's easy enough for the servo to actuate it. And on the other side here, you have the vent tube that fits on nicely that would go to your NACA duct. So I'm going to play around with it a little more, and if anybody has some input or suggestions or a better way to do it. I was trying to source, these are 3-inch tubes. I was trying to source just regular 3-inch butterfly valves online, and I can't find anything that's not rated for high pressure and things like that. So it's too heavy and too hard to actuate, and you know, not quite the right solution for this application. But yeah, I kind of like this. I ordered a servo online to I'll just mount an arm here, and there's this slot, there'll be a bearing, so as that arm moves from down to up, it'll just kind of move over to here when it's right here, and then back over to here when it's all the way up. So I don't know, I'm just playing around on a Saturday, so seemed like a fun thing to do. Yeah, like I said, if anybody's got any ideas, let me know. But I'm excited for next week. We'll get a whole bunch more building done. This one needs its wheels, but one of the guys building with me here was nice enough to let me basically borrow his wheels to test out what was going on with my plane. So I have to take them off my plane and give them back to him and just swap out the rotors and discs, or sorry, the rotors and the pads. But yeah, anyway, I think that's it. So have a good weekend, everybody.